Hello and welcome to this virtual learning lesson focusing on creating your first ebook on Book Creator. The first thing you have to do is you obviously have to sign up and create your account, which you can do really easily by going onto bookcreator.com and signing in with your EdgeBuzz email address and account details. That's super simple. There are two things that you need to remember. Both your teacher and you as a learner need to have signed up to a Book Creator account before you can contribute or take part in this video. As the teacher, what you need to do to be able to give access to your learners is you need to create a library. So you can simply click create a new library, like I've done here. So Mr. Reed's library, click create a new library. This will give you access to create books from scratch, use some of the templates, and copy some pre-made books. And the next step is you just need to click on this button to share the invite code with learners. Learners will not be able to create books on Book Creator until they join your library. So that's a really important first step. Teachers and pupils need to create their accounts. Teachers need to set up a library, and teachers need to share this little invite code so that pupils can then access their shared library. From there, everyone will be able to create an online ebook via Book Creator. Now that we've all signed up to Book Creator and we've joined our teacher's library, we're now ready to make an ebook. So the first thing you need to do, you'll see this dashboard. It might look slightly different for learners, but as I'm a teacher, you can see that you should have a My Books section. If you click on the My Books section, it'll probably be blank because you haven't created anything yet. What you need to remember is that pupils can only have 3 books created at one time, but I'll show you at the end of this video how you can export them and you can have a copy to keep forever. Teachers, just as a reference point, you can create 40 books. So that's the only difference between a pupil account and a teacher account. Teachers have 40 books, pupils have 3 books. So within here, you can see the big orange button in the top right-hand corner, which says New Book and a big plus sign. So we're going to click on that. The first thing you need to do is you need to choose a book shape. So for the purpose of this, most books are in portrait. So I'm going to choose this portrait 2x3, and I'm going to click on that, and then that will generate me an empty book that I can start editing. Now we've opened our blank book, there's a couple of things that we need to do. So first of all, this is our cover page. You can see at the top that it highlights cover page here. The arrow on the right hand side allows you to toggle through pages. So you can see this is page 2 and page 3. Then you can add more, page 4 and page 5, and you can add as many as you want. Remember that you can always go back. So you can go back, edit your cover page, you can skip to page 2 and 3 or page 4 and 5, and you can add as many pages as you need. So we're going to go back to the cover page and we're going to focus here for just now. So the first thing I want a lovely background image for my cover page. So if I was doing this in a traditional method, I might have to spend 1, 2, maybe 3 lessons creating my cover page, designing the artwork. But in Book Creator, it's nice and easy because you've got access to the internet and you've got lots of options. So we're going to go up to this big plus button, and that stands for add an item. And in here, we're going to add an image. And I'm going to look for an image of a dark sky. And remember, we chose portrait mode for our book, so it makes it much easier if we're selecting an image that's in portrait format, not landscape. So I've seen a really cool one here actually. That's in portrait. That's going to fit my book cover nicely. Now you will see when it inputs the image or embeds the image, it might not cover all areas of your book. So what we want to do is we want to click on it and we can drag it around with either your trackpad or your mouse. We drag it up to the top left hand corner and then we use these little circles to make it slightly bigger. So we pull that down and that gives us a lovely background image for our book. Now, I'm not entirely happy with this because I'd rather it was a slightly different color. I'd rather it was maybe a little bit transparent and not just a block image. So what I'm going to do now, just to edit my cover photo, is I'm going to go up to this inspector button. This inspector button here, right beside the add button. I'm going to go to the inspector button and you see it gives us some options because our image is clicked on. We know our image is clicked on because there's a blue outline, okay? And I'm just going to make this a little bit more transparent. You can see what the transparency does. If you put it all the way up, 100% transparency, it's totally see-through. We don't want that. We just want it about halfway. Now, you get to choose how you want your image to look. You might want it like this, which is totally fine, but you play about with it to see what you prefer, okay? So we've got a little bit of transparency added here. The next thing we want to do is we maybe want to add some color. So I'm going to hit the inspector button again, and I'm going to change the color. You can see it kind of changes the color of the image. It's actually changing the color of the pages, but I'm going to choose this brown color because I quite like that. It adds a bit of mystery to the image. And there we go. That's the first step is our cover image. So as we move on in the video, we're going to add some text and we're going to edit that text. But these two things, the plus button and the inspector button, are two very important areas that you might want to explore a little bit further as this video goes on. Okay, so we've created the cover image for our book cover. The next thing I want to do is I want to add some text. So again, we go back up. These two buttons are going to be very commonly used, by the way, through this video. So you can probably guess where I'm going to go most times. We go to the plus button and we're going to go to add text. And in this, I'm going to call my book Lost at Sea. Okay, now within here we've got lots of options. We can make it bold, we can italicize, we can underline, we can do all of these things. We can change the color of the text, we can make it a link. Again, exploring all of these options and seeing what they do is a really, really nice way to build your skill set when using Book Creator. Another nice thing is you actually have this dictation tool. So it's sometimes known as speech to text. So for example, if you were writing Lost at Sea, we could speak what we wanted to write and it would write it for us. So it's a really nice feature. If you're writing a story, maybe a longer paragraph, and you don't have time to type it, you can use this speech to text and it will type it all for you by you using your voice. So we'll explore that tool a little bit later on as we're going to add some text. So I've got my title Lost at Sea. I've input it there, but it doesn't look great. I think we can agree that doesn't look too good. Trying to make it bigger doesn't work by pulling these like it did with the image. So what we need to do, I'm sure you can maybe guess, is we're not going to add something, but we're going to use the inspector tool again. And with the inspector tool, you have the option to increase the text size. You can use this plus and this minus button, which is nice and easy, or you can actually drag it along, which makes it so much quicker. So I'm going to make it 81. I'm actually going to bold it and I'm going to make it italics as well. I quite like that. The one thing I don't like though, I don't like the font type, but don't worry because we can change the font type in here as well. So I'm going to make it nice and bold. The nice thing about Book Creator as well is each font type is written in the font that it looks like. Okay, so you can see what each of the font types looks like. So look at the calligraphy. Oh, actually, I quite like that one. I'm going to stick with that one. So we've chosen our font type. We've made it the size we want, but I want to make this a bit bigger now so that it all fits on one line. So Lost at Sea. And I'm actually going to pop it right in the middle. Okay, so we've got our Lost at Sea right in the middle of our text. Actually, no, I'm going to pop it at the top. It looks better up there. So we'll pop it at the top. One other piece of text we need is the author of the book, which usually appears on the front. So I'm going to add some text and I'm going to write written by David Reed. And we'll add that in there. Again, we can go to the inspector tool. We can change the font, which I'm going to stick to the same font. Actually, I'm going to choose something slightly different. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to make it bold as well. And I'm going to pop that down here. But you may notice that that's not that easy to see in a black background. So what we also can do is we can change the color. So you see this color here, we can change it to maybe a white background, maybe gray. The one thing you'll notice is I'm doing a lot of playing about, a lot of changes, which is good because playing about is exploring or tinkering or changing the way we do things. So again, there's lots of options in here: fonts, colors, backgrounds, columns, shadow, transparency. Again, all of these things, please take a few minutes, play about with it, see how it changes your text, see how it changes the look of your book, and it's always good to explore. Actually, now that I've got white right in here, I'm actually going to change this to white simply because I think it looks a little bit better and a little bit more consistent. So that's how we've created our front cover of our book. Have a go at doing that. This video is going to pause so you can explore. Pause the video for as long as you want, and then we'll move on to the actual main body of text for our story. As you can see, I've moved on from my cover page onto my page 2 and 3, and you'll see that I've added quite a lot of text from a story that I created. You'll also see that I've added a little picture. I'm just going to show you very quickly how we add that text and how we add that picture. What I've done is I actually had my text written in a Google Doc, so it was nice and easy to be able to click the add button to add an item, click text, and then use the shortcut Control-C to copy from Google Docs, and then Control-V to paste it into my text box. Okay, so you can see this is part of my story that I'd written in Google Docs. I copied 2 little paragraphs and I pasted it directly in. That was a nice, quick and easy way to get that text quickly on my page without having to type it all out again. From here, what I was able to do is I was able to click on my text box, which you can see highlights it in blue, and then use the inspector button again to edit my text size, making it bigger, making it smaller, and I've changed the font color to white because I've got that brown background. Okay, I haven't changed my font yet, but I might do that at the end once I've finished my story, and I'll go through all of the pages and choose it. So one other thing you might be thinking is, wait, my page is white, how did he get a brown page? So all you have to do is make sure that you're not selecting any text or any images, and you can do that by just clicking off at either side of the book. So make sure nothing is selected, and then once you do that, you click on the inspector button and it actually gives you all of these options. So you can see I've selected the coffee color. You can change this to whatever color you want, and it just changes the background of your book. I'm going to stick with coffee. If you don't like any of these colors, you can hit this plus button and that'll give you an even bigger array of colors to choose from. The next step here is a book's really effective if you can access the text yourself. But what we often use quite a lot these days, myself included, is we often use ebooks or podcasts or something to tell us the story. So you can do this in Book Creator. So for example, if you'd written this story and you wanted to share it with your younger sibling who maybe couldn't read at this level just yet, then we can actually read it for them. And we're going to do that by making a voice recording. So what we want to do, we've got our text written here. So page 2, page 3, we want to click the add button again, and we want to go to record. And all we have to do, firstly, we need to find a nice quiet space. But what we're going to do is we're going to click start recording, and then we're going to read the book as it's written here. Okay. David, a young man with curly brown hair and bright blue eyes, loved the ocean. He often dreamed of sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, exploring its vast waters and discovering hidden treasures. So, just to let you know, before I finish that, I just decided to read the first paragraph because I didn't want to have to read it all and record it and let you listen to it again. So just for the purposes of this video, I've just recorded a little section. What you can do here is you can listen to the recording by pressing this play button, and if you don't like it, you can delete it and try again, or you can hit the use recording button. And what that does is it uploads this little file, which you can pop down here right in the bottom left hand corner of your page. So you can have a recording of this page here and a recording of this page here, okay? And what that allows people to do is when you preview your book or when you press this play button to read the book, it'll show you what it looks like. So it shows you your Lost at Sea cover page. This is your first 2 pages, and you can actually click this button and you can hear someone else's story.
So let's move on and start adding more text, but in a slightly different way. I did reference back earlier in the video that we could type the text into our ebook, but also we can use our voice, which is sometimes known as speech to text or a dictation tool. So in order to do this, we're going to have to go up to the plus button, so adding a new item, and we're going to go to text again because we want the text to appear. We don't want to record, although we are going to record our voice, we want text to appear, so writing in our book. And whenever we click on that text, you'll see that this text box, which looks familiar before because we can type here, but equally we can also record our voice, which is a nice quick and easy way of recording and writing down our text. So we just have to click on this little image here. So that's your dictation tool, and I've got text already written that I'm going to read out so that I have it in my book. Okay, let's get started. Hours passed before the storm finally calms down. Exhausted but determined to find his way back home, David looked around for any signs of land. In the distance, he spotted a small island. Okay, so what we can see here is it actually capitalizes the first letter, it adds in full stops, and it adds in commas. So what's really important when you're speaking what you want to write down is that you take breaks for a full stop and a short breath for commas. And this means that you don't actually have to go back and edit as much as you might have to normally. What I can notice is that small has a capital letter, but it's not meant to, so I'm just going to change that. And then all I have to do is click done, and it pops the text into my book. And after that, we can edit again by selecting the text and going to the inspector button, and we can change the color, etc., etc. As we covered previously in the video, you can do this all over again. Okay, so the next element is quite a cool one, and it uses AI or artificial intelligence. So I'm not the most successful of artists, but what I want to do is I want to add a little drawing to my book. So in some instances, you might want to add images and pictures, for example, from Google, which I showed you before with this example of a boat floating on the sea. But I want to add a little bit of a creative side. But my confidence with drawing is not great. So what I'm going to show you here is a little AI tool that helps develop your drawing skills right within your ebook. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click the plus button again, and we're going to go to the pen tool. And you'll notice that whenever you click on the pen tool, you have all of these options up here, which I'm going to let you explore on your own. So color, eraser, fill, and emojis. But what I'm going to focus on for the purpose of this video is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pen options, and you've also got 5 kind of size options or thickness options here as well. Now, you might wonder what auto means, and we're going to explore what that looks like now. So if I click auto, you can see at the top it says start drawing. So I want an image of a boat, but as you can see, my drawing skills are not quite as good as I would like them to be, but it doesn't matter because Book Creator uses the image that you draw to suggest what you're trying to draw in a more refined way. So I can see, oh wow, here's a boat. I'm going to take this little sailing boat and I'm going to click X to get off that, and I'm going to click done. And you'll see that it uploads that little image to my drawing. From here, again, you can use the inspector button to increase transparency, and you can use the little pen to edit the color, etc. Okay, so that's just a little input on how you can add drawings to your ebook, but in a really, really easy way. So the last part of this video is just to show you a couple of other elements that you can add. I'm just going to briefly touch on these, but you can explore them in class in a little bit more detail. So again, we're going to go back. The recurring theme is we're going to go back to this plus button. Remember, the plus button is to add new items to your ebook, and the inspector button is to edit those new items. So if we always remember that, add the plus button, inspect is to edit. So we're going to go to the plus button, and within here we've been working from this tools tab, and things like images, camera, pen, text, record. Please feel free to explore any of these that we haven't gone into in more detail, like the camera. But we're going to jump over to media, because you might want to lay this book out in some sort of format that maybe resembles a comic book, or maybe this lesson is just focused on refining your skills around book creator, and maybe after this you want to create a comic book that fits in with the topic that you're doing. So what we're going to do is click on the media tab, and then you can see that we've got templates, shapes, icons, files, and embed. But just in terms of the comic book element, we can add really colorful shapes nice and easy to our book, which will allow us to create that kind of comic book style. Okay, so you can just add some random shapes. We go to media and shapes again. We can add some speech bubbles. And remember, you can always resize these. And remember, if you don't know already, if we want to edit this or change its color, we make sure it's selected, and we add the inspector button, and we can actually change the color of our speech bubbles and our shapes as well by always using that inspector button. Now, that was just a little element. It might not apply to the book you're creating just now, but it's just to let you know that that's a possibility.
Now that we've completed our first ebook, there's a couple of things that I just want to show you before we share it with anyone else. So the first thing you might want to do is you might actually want to preview your book and read it yourself to make sure that everything's where it should be and you're happy with the final copy. So up here, we've got the add button or inspector button, which we've used lots over the course of this video. But to the right of that, you've got that read my book option. And if you press that, it'll show you exactly what your book looks like when you're going to share it with someone else. Okay, so that is a good option just to double check that everything's where it should be. You can click the edit button in the top left to go back to your editing mode. But this is a nice little way to make sure that everything's laid out as and how you would expect it. You can use this read book button anytime when you're creating your book just to check, and then you can go back to edit mode nice and easily. Now, there's a couple of things that we want to discuss as well. When you're sharing your book, you've got a couple of options, okay? The share button is up here, just left of the add an item button. And when we click it, you can see that there's a few options. You can click assign, publish, download, or print. We're going to focus on two buttons today. We're going to focus on publish and print. And you might think, wait, I don't think I can print from my Chromebook. But that's okay, because as I mentioned earlier in the video, you as a learner have the ability to create 3 ebooks on your book creator account. Now, what happens when you want to create a 4th book? That means you have to delete one of the books that you already have. Now, assuming you don't want to delete this, or you might want to create a copy forever and to share with maybe family or friends, you can hit this print button, and what it does is it actually generates you a PDF copy of your book. So it doesn't look like the online copy, but it generates you a PDF copy, which you can then click save and save it to your Google Drive. And that means that you've got a copy to keep forever. Now, if you want to share this book maybe as an assignment submission on Google Classroom, or you just want to post a link on Google Classroom so that your friends and your teachers can read it, then what we want to do is we want to click the share button and we want to go to publish. And within here, you want to give the book a title. So my title is Lost at Sea. You can give a short description here. I'm not going to type in a description just for the purpose of this video, but you can give a short description of what your book's about. And then what you can do is you can decide if you want it to be private or public. So this is an option that you're free to choose. So your book can only be found with a private link. You choose who to share this book with, and you can unpublish it at any time. If we choose public, it means other teachers and students will be able to find this book through Google and other search engines. So if you want to be nice and safe and you're sharing it through Google Classroom, we can keep it private. If you want to share it with lots of other people, family, friends, etc., maybe you want to share it in a school newsletter, then you can select public. Again, there's this option, remixing. I'm going to leave remixing off because it basically means someone can take your book and they can make a slightly different version of it. Okay, so for the purpose of this, I'm going to go private because I only want to share it with my classmates and my teacher, and I don't want anyone else to make an edit of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit publish online. You'll see it says your book has been published, and then what you can do is you can either read it online or you can copy the link. And if you click copy the link, you can see it's copied to the clipboard, and then you can paste it into Google Classroom in the comments section for other people to read.
So we've come to the end of this virtual learning experience focused on creating our first ebook on Book Creator. Just to run through a few of the things that you should have learned over the course of the last 25 minutes is you've created a book, you've created a cover page, you've added text and edited text in lots of different ways. You've been able to add images, you've been able to add voiceover so that a younger person or someone who can't access the text can hear your book. So you've basically turned your ebook into an audiobook. We've also explored using AI drawing tools to add some illustrations to our book. And finally, we looked at how we could actually create a comic book strip by inputting elements and shapes and speech bubbles into our book. Finally, we looked at all of these 4 tools up here, so the add an item button, which was very popular, and the inspector tool, which was really great for editing what we add. We also looked at this read button, which showed our book in a published version. And then finally, we looked at sharing and printing. So printing meant we could make a copy of our book as a PDF, and publishing meant that we could post this book on Google Classroom with a live link so that our peers and our teacher could read the book that we've created. I've really enjoyed showing you how to make your first ebook on Book Creator. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. This was a virtual learning lesson on ebooks for Book Creator. Thank you very much, and hopefully I will see you soon.